Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
Good morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So how many people here have something in your life you're a little worried about, a little concerned about right now? Anybody have anything you're worried about? How many people would say, if you're really honest with yourself, that you are probably more of a worrier than you'd like to admit? Anybody worry a fair amount? How many people worry so much that when you don't have anything to worry about, you start to worry? Anybody? So I found a poem called Why Worry? It's an Irish poem, and here's what it says. In life, there are only two things to worry about, whether you'll be well or whether you'll be sick. If you're well, you have nothing to worry about. If you're sick, you only have two things to worry about, whether you'll get better or whether you'll die. If you get better, there's nothing to worry about. If you die, there are only two things to worry about, whether you'll go to heaven or go to hell. If you go to heaven, there's nothing to worry about. And if you go to hell, you'll be too busy shaking hands and reuniting with your friends that you won't have anything to worry about. So why worry? It was a joke. It was a poem. It was a joke. So why is it that we worry so much? You know, the very depths of worry is a wondering, will I be okay? Will everything work out? Will I get through this? You know, will my relationship work out? Will I ever find happiness? Will I ever find success? You know, every worry underneath it is wondering, will it be okay? Will I be okay? Will things work out? Will I be happy? You know, the Bible tells us over and over again, do not worry, do not worry. And it says worrying will do no good. You know, who can add a single hour to your life by worry? Worry does not do good. In fact, worry can hurt and harm us. And worry, again, does not help at all. Let me give you an example why worry doesn't work or doesn't help. Everybody remembers what they're worrying about right now. But let me ask you, a year ago today, do you remember what you're worried about? How many people remember what you worried about on this date a year ago? Okay, nobody. How many people remember what you worried about 2 years ago on this date? How about 5 years ago on this date? And the point I'm making is that we don't even remember what we worried about a year or two or five. And so that really shows that it really worked out in the long run. And so in the same way that what you're worried about today, that you're stressing and concerned about today, at some point, not only will it work out in the long run, but you might not even remember it like you're not remembering what you worried about a year, 2 years, and 5 years ago. Things always work out in the long run. How many people believe that things always work out in the long run? Great. So today we begin a 5-week series, The Songs of Life, the Broadway edition. I think every one of us has songs that have touched us and spoken to us in a difficult time and got us to another place and a level. You know, I've been doing this for 18 of the 19 years I've been a minister, always picking songs and doing talks off of songs. And I've only ever chosen the songs myself. You know, people give input, but I decide on what the songs are. So earlier this year, when I finished the spring version of our Songs of Life, Craig said to me, hey, Richard, I got a little challenge for you. And I said, what, Craig? He said, how about if I pick your songs? And you write a talk to the songs that I pick. And Craig always teaches me that the first word in theater is to say yes. And I'm always teaching about expanding, stepping out of your comfort zone. So of course, my answer was yes. So I thought, well, let Craig do 3 and I'll do 2. But then I realized that was some of my control freakiness trying to get in there. So then I ended up saying, okay, Craig, all 5. And I said yes to all 5 without question. He even said you could change. I said, no, we're going. So this is a challenge from Craig with songs that I have to write talks about. So today we're doing the song In the Long Run, which is a song from Craig's second musical called Enter the Guardsman. This play opened in London and was directed by Sam Mendes, who directed American Beauty, was underwritten by one of Andrew Lloyd Webber's companies, and it won the Best International Musical in 1996 and opened off Broadway in 2001. Yeah. And the play is about an actor and actress, and they've been acting together, co-stars, for a long time. Then they fall in love, and then 6 months after getting married and being in love, they're completely bored with each other. And it's going nowhere. So the guy comes up with an idea to pretend, because he's such a good actor, to be a guardsman, and he tries to woo and seduce his own wife as someone else. It's a comedy, and so so it opens, and this song wasn't in the play. So the director said to Craig and his lyricist, why don't you write a song that would be appropriate for this? And so they ended up going to a lecture by Kurt Vonnegut in Stratford, Ontario, and he said a particular line. I'll share the line later. And they wrote the song in the long run that very night. And so the song, the essence of it really is about with the two characters asking the question is, what does it take to keep a marriage going? What does it take to keep a relationship going in the long run? And so what I love about this message is basically saying that no matter what is happening or goes on, everything will be okay in the long run. And one of the things about that, when you know things will be okay in the long run, it gives you perspective about not getting overwhelmed with your problems today or your worries, not getting consumed by them. And it gives you opportunities to live at a different level when you understand that everything will work out in the long run. Now, while we say we believe, and we do believe that things will work out in the long run, I know every one of us has moments in our lives where we wonder if things will work out. Anybody ever had your heart broken so badly you wondered if you ever could or want to love again? I mean, we have had times where we've lost loved ones where we thought, could I ever get over that devastation? You know, we've had situations where we wonder if we can get through a battle with an addiction. And we've had many times where we've been knocked down, where we wonder if we would get back up and if things would really be okay. You know, there are songs about relationships that don't work. And it says, you know, I can't live if living is without you. We think it isn't going to work out. I can't go on. There's one that even says, like, I'll never breathe again. If you leave me, I'm going to stop breathing. So we all have been to a place where we wondered if it was going to work out, if we would survive. So we believe that everything will work out in the long run. And you know what's at the foundation of that? It is faith. Faith is the thing that gets us to believe that eventually things are going to work out. Faith is a powerful thing. It is a belief that even though I can't see it right now, that something greater is possible. That's why Jesus said it was done to you according to your faith. Great things happen to you because of your faith. All things are possible because of our faith and what we believe. And so what is it that we have faith in? And that is we have faith in God. We have faith in spirit. We have faith in life and the universe, that it will support us, that it will love us, guide us, and lead us to something greater. Here are some scriptures that support it. Jeremiah, in the book of Jeremiah, it says, for surely I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Paul in the book of Romans said, all things work together for good for those who love God. The 23rd Psalm said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Spirit, like a shepherd, is guiding us, leading us, protecting us, helping us, and supporting us. So there is clear reason to believe that everything will work out in the long run. I believe that nature and life in the universe has an impulse, an evolutionary impulse that is always leading us towards something higher, greater, better. Even in any devastation, it can always be rebuilt. There can always be healing. There can always be transformation, because that's built in the DNA and the consciousness of life and God and the universe. And I believe to believe that things will work out in the long run, there has to be a belief under that that says that God loves me, that I'm loved and supported by the universe, by an energy, by a life force that is always helping me and guiding me to that level of understanding. I am loved and supported by God. Together, I am loved and supported by God. Take a deep breath. I am loved and supported by life. Together, I am loved and supported by life. Deep breath. I am loved and supported by the universe. Together. I am loved and supported by the universe. Deep breath. I am loved and supported in all things at all times. Together. I am loved and supported in all things at all times. See, I truly believe that there's a foundation of life. There's a foundation that is faith that always supports us and guides us. And you can call it grace. You could call it divine wisdom and love. You can call it all kinds of things, but it's there. And faith is the underlying assurance that everything will work out. I have faith that everything will work out in the long run. Together. I have faith that everything will work out in the long run. Amen. So the next line, and this is the Kurt Vonnegut line, it says, you always never know what's coming. You always never know what's coming. He's a genius. I never heard anybody put always and never right next to each other. You always never know what's coming. Good or bad, right or wrong, but the days keep on humming and humming along. And so while there is an assurance, this underlying faith that all will work out in the long run, another key aspect of life is the unknown. That we don't know what's going to happen next. That life is filled with uncertainty, the unknown. There is a mystery and an ambiguity about life that we just don't know exactly what's going to happen next, how it is going to turn out. And to me, that uncertainty and unknown about life makes it exciting. It makes it beautiful. It makes it wonderful, because if there was no unknown, there wouldn't be a need for faith. There wouldn't be a need for creativity. It is the unknown and uncertainty and mystery of life that makes it exciting. But human beings have a problem with not knowing. We need to know everything. And so not knowing freaks us out. We get anxious, we get scared, we feel vulnerable, we feel powerless. Like, you ever had an anxiety waiting for test results to come back? Or you had some anxiety wondering about the unknown of, will my new business succeed? You know, or if a relationship was on the rocks, will it really work out? I think the unknown terrifies us. The unknown scares us. We hate not knowing. You know, and when we don't know the facts, you know what human beings do? We make stuff up. That's what we do. We make stuff up. If we don't know why someone made a decision, I'll guarantee you we tend to pick the very worst. They did it because they're against me. That's why they did it. So we don't know a lot of stuff in human beings. That's because we don't know how to deal with the unknown. We tend to lean towards the worst scenarios, the worst in people, because we don't know. My question for you is, how well do you handle the unknown? How comfortable are you with not knowing for certain exactly what is going to happen? The truth is, things change in life. Things don't always go exactly the way that we hope. And we need to not be rigid. We need to not be resistant, because change happens. What we need to do is to be more open and flexible, to be more trusting of life, to be more accepting. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. See, that's what happens. We get bent out of shape a lot. And the fact is, life is going to change and go in different directions. And you know what? We need to roll with it. We need to go with it, because we don't know how it's going to happen. We need to work through it. We need to live through it. We need to embrace it and not resist it and fight. That even when we get a diagnosis we didn't want, we got to live through it and adjust to it. If we lose a job, if someone has to move, if something different happens in our life, the best thing we could do for life is to roll with it, to adjust with it, to learn from it, live through it, and when we can, enjoy through it. How many people remember Gilda Radner? Everybody remember Gilda Radner? You know, at the peak of her career, in her 30s, late 30s, she got ovarian cancer. And in her book, It's Always Something, she wrote this about what her experience was like getting ovarian cancer at that age and stage of her life. She said, I wanted a perfect ending. Now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme. Some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Life is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it without knowing what's going to happen next. Delicious uncertainty. Every one of us are going to be handed things that don't go the way that we want, but the thing we need to do is to embrace it and make the best of the moment, even if we don't know we'll know exactly what will be next. So I ask you, what unknown or change in your life or unexpected thing that is life calling you to accept, to face, to embrace, to live through, to walk through, and to make the very best of? The two foundational principles of life is a faith that things will work out in the long run, and then is awareness that we don't know all the things that will happen in life. Things will always change. We will always never know what's coming. And are you willing to roll and adjust to those things and not just be rigid and stuck? So those are the two foundational principles of life. And I think to really enjoy life in the long run, there are three things we can do to enhance life and make it more rich. And let's go to the next line. It says, everyone wins in the long run. Everyone loses too. I'll pay for my sins in the long run. In the long run, so will you. You know, we all will have times where we lose and we win, where we make good choices and not so good choices, where we make mistakes and where we do things well. You know, and the fact is, I believe that it's our choices that come back to us. It's the energy that we put out, the thought and the actions that we put out, so that even though things are unknown, we have some say. You know, it's called the law of attraction. It's the law of cause and effect. You know, the ideas, the intentions, the energy that we put out literally comes back to us. Even in an unknown world, we have some say in what goes on in our lives through the power of our words, our thoughts, our actions, and our intentions. Dennis Jones says in The Art of Uncertainty, he says that, you know, he wasn't really a New Agey person, but he tried an intention exercise, and he was surprised how the intentions affected the outcomes of his life. And he writes, our intention is at the root of why we do anything and plays a fundamental role in helping us cultivate a life of happiness or unhappiness. If we set an intention for well-being and place it at the center of our lives, we are more likely to be guided towards it. Our intentions for our lives, our words and our thoughts, have incredible power even in a world of unknown and uncertainty. Our intentions can move us in certain directions and call forth and create experiences and relationships and feelings and the difference that we can make in our lives. So Craig and Rusty, several years, 5-6 years ago, went hiking in Payson. And then it was raining, so they had to get out of the rain, and so they ended up dipping into the Zane Grey Museum. He's checking out all his Zane Grey stuff, and he comes upon a book called Riders of the Purple Sage. He flicks through it a little bit, and he gets a bit of an idea to maybe write an opera on this. He takes the book home. I think within 30 pages, he said, that intention became very, very clear. 5 years later, it debuted at Arizona Opera earlier this year as the first Western opera written. And the thing I want to show you here is they had plans to go hiking. Things didn't go the way when it rained, and they rolled with it, ended up in the museum. He got the book in his hand, but then he set an intention. And everybody he needed, Drew, was drawn to him, and that thing unfolded in an amazing way. Even in uncertainty, intention makes a difference. For the last 2 or 3 years, I wanted to renovate my kitchen, didn't know how to start or what. I had a picture of it, didn't know what to do, how to hire someone, blah, blah, blah. So there's somebody that I knew who had done about 3 or 4 or 5 places, kitchens in particular. And they're always busy, and I didn't think that she'd be able to help. But I thought, let me put a phone call and just say, hey, could you spend 5 minutes and brainstorm with me? So I called and I said, hey, any chance you can spend a few minutes with me on this? And she said, you know, I've done project after project, and I just finished my last one, and I was wondering, what would my next project be? And that was me. And my kitchen, the last 2 months I've been renovating, it looks smoking good. It really does. You should see it. It's really good. But then I decided I wanted to redesign my living room and in my bedroom and bathroom. And I thought, well, I want a professional designer. Last Thursday, a professional designer came up to me and offered to redesign my bedroom and my living room for free. I just set an intention, and the two people at the right time came without effort. Intention is powerful stuff. Last Thursday, I did a radio show on Voice America, the leading internet talk show channel, talk radio channel, with Dr. Connie Mariano. She was the White House doctor. She's got a radio show. She's a member of our community. And so it was called God's Messages. You should check it out on Voice America, Dr. Connie's thing. I was a guest last week. But it was in between, she was telling me about that she didn't have a great marriage for 20 years, and she'd kind of given up on it. And then she thought, let me write down all my goals and intentions for a marriage. And so she ended up meeting this guy, a guy that was kind of in her life, but they made a connection. And he nailed everything on her list. They've been married for 10 years, happy as ever. I went home and started making a list. And so, but here's the point I'm trying to make. Whether it's an opera, whether it's a kitchen, or a marriage and relationship, intention in any area of your life will begin to draw and harness the universal power and forces to support you in manifesting that or something even greater. So my question for you is, what area of your life does it behoove you to set an intention? And maybe it's in your finances. Maybe it's in your career. Maybe it's in your relationship. Maybe it's for your health. Maybe it's for the kind of person you want to become or the difference that you want to make. But I guarantee you, intention makes a difference. The next lyrics say this: we'll soldier on together, undoing and getting undone, and we won't consider whether we should have never begun. That sometimes life will knock us down and we're thinking, why did I do this? You know, I wish this hadn't gone. I mean, sometimes to the extreme, I wish I'd never been born. You know, I wish I didn't begin this journey or trek. But the truth is in life, sometimes you got to persevere. In fact, often you have to persevere and just keep going, keep working, keep doing it. You look at anyone great who's done anything great, they had to persevere and persist. Several people that we hear are so successful failed their way to success, that they went bankrupt. People like Steve Jobs, like people like Walt Disney, Henry Ford, Will Smith, Lady Gaga, they all failed and they all went bankrupt. Somebody once said, it took me 20 years to become an overnight success. It takes work. It takes persistence. You know, here's what it says in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 2. It says, consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work in you so that you might be whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. Persistence and perseverance is a powerful and important thing, not just to achieve the things we want to achieve, but to become who we have come here to be. Anybody see Rocky? Remember Rocky 1? I think up to Rocky, 20 or something now? But the beginning one, I just love that one so much because there's a guy, no one believed in him. But he got up every morning and drink his 6 raw eggs and run. And remember, he couldn't make it up 4 or 5 stairs. The next time, 8 or 9. And remember that scene where he gets to the top? I mean, you can't help but that's persistence. That we have to keep climbing the stairs, keep doing the things we need to do to reach a level of success. When my life wasn't going very well, it was, I was about 30. I was trying to turn things around a little bit. I started interviewing some friends. I decided I wanted to become a real estate mogul. And so I started interviewing people I knew were successful. And I remember this one guy, Steve Delman. I'd interview him, ask him about rentals. But then the tone of it became about life. And I said, what was the single thing you learned about life that made you who you are? And he said, well, my mama used to tell me this line, and the line was, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. So I went home and I wrote that on a 3x5 card. I looked at it every day. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. So with my dad's help, I bought a rental property. We live right near a university. So in June, I met a bunch of girls. There were 6 bedrooms in the house. They agreed to stay in the house. I said, fabulous. I'll see you here in September. The day before they were supposed to move in, they said, oh, sorry, we took another house. I didn't make them sign a lease. I didn't know what I was doing. So there I am on the day. My dad already paid 2 months of mortgage, and I got no students for this house. I go to the student housing office, but it had stairs and no railing, so I had to lean up against the wall and inch up on this, go into the thing where the the bulletin boards were at advertising places. I'd see a kid, and I'd say, hey, you need a room? He said, yeah. I said, I got one for you. Let's go. So I'd down the stairs, get in the car, drive him there, up the stairs in the house, show him the house. I got one. I ended up spending 3 days up and down, up and down. And all the thought in my head is, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. You want to succeed? You got to keep going. You know, and I wanted to run for city council, and there were always meetings all over the place, and it was dragging because I walked slow, but I'd always say, keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. I didn't do either of those things, but I learned how to be persistent. I learned how to persevere. I learned how to keep going. So my question for you is, where in your life are you being called to keep going? Even if it isn't going well, where's it calling you to keep pushing, keep trying, keep breaking through, keep doing the thing that will lead you and make you whole, complete, and lacking in nothing? How will perseverance is being called to finish its good work in you so you can become all you came here to be? The final verse says, then at the final curtain, you stand amazed because that's when you know for certain how short the long run was. One thing about life is that our spirits might be eternal, but these bodies have a limited shelf life. None of us is going to live forever. Our time is limited, and it is precious. So it's important that we don't waste our time in not doing things that bring us joy and not doing things we know that are ours to do, not avoiding life or the difficulties, and to ask ourselves, how do I want to spend this precious time? I remember I met a lady many years ago. I was in my late 20s, and she was in her 70s. I think she's about 75. Her name was Evelyn, and she said, Richard, I can't believe it. It seemed like yesterday I was in high school. Life goes by so quickly. And that's the truth for all of us. It goes by quickly. So we need to ask ourselves, how am I living this life? My mom died 7 years ago, and 3 days after the funeral, my brother brought all 10 of us. There are 10 kids, 5 boys, 5 girls. The oldest brother brought us all together, sat us around, and his opening line was, the next one to die will be one of us. He got all of our attention. He did. And see, my mom was the hub of the family, and whether one of the kids lived in Nigeria or one lived in France or Trinidad or all over, we came together as a family around my mom. And what my brother was saying is, look, life is precious, and we don't know how long we have. So what is the commitment we have as brothers and sisters to spend time together and make a commitment to be together? And I'll tell you, that was an important time, because the last 7 years, we who are already close have been closer than we've ever been. More open-hearted, more loving, more sharing about our healing journey, about ourselves. I went to Montreal in August. 4 of them drove 6 hours from Toronto to Montreal to spend like less than 48 hours together. We had a great time. They're busy, but we make a commitment for each other because that's a valuable way that we want to spend our time. So my question for you is, with your precious time, are you investing it in the way you want to invest in it? Are you spending it the way you want to spend it? And realizing how precious this gift is. I like to we talk a lot about, dying and how that's going to happen. And it's not in a morbid way. It's to remind us how precious this time is now. To not waste it, to really invest ourselves. Stop putting things off, but give ourselves permission right now to be happy, to live fully and to celebrate, not wait for special occasions for it to happen. So where in your life can you give yourself permission to laugh and love and live and fully enjoy your life more deeply? Craig? I just want to say, this is a fabulous song, man. I mean, this song reminds me to live. It reminds me not to worry. It reminds me that we need to roll with the uncertainties, that we need to set our intentions and persevere, and that we need to enjoy our time because it's precious. And to always remember that things will always work out in the long run. God bless you all.